o ka hola Eva ma iwa kālua kuma lima o ke mapa I ka makahiki e lua kaukani iwa kālua kuma lima. O ke ia ka pō mahina o kū kolu I kua e olu mai e ho'omalu ke KŌMIKE ALOHA ʻāINA o wau o Kiani Rollins Fernandez, ka luna ho'omalu o ke ia KŌMIKE. It is 9:06 on September 25th, 2025, in the month of, in the Hawaiian month, lunar calendar month of Ikua, in the moon phase of Ku Lua for another hour before Ku Kolu rises. Will KŌMIKE ALOHA ʻāINA please come to order? I'm your chair, Kiani Rollins Fernandez. There are currently no testifiers at the Molokai District Office, and mahalo Ms. Hanapi for holding down the fort there. Ike la me kokako Committee Vice Chair Tamara Polton, aloha.
Aloha kakayaka kako.
Aloha. In the chamber, we have Committee Member Tom Cook. Aloha.
Aloha, Chair. Good morning. There's currently no testifiers in the KE office, and looking forward to the meeting.
Mahalo. And Committee Member Tasha Kama is going to be Luhi late today? Staff. Lohi. Or Luhi. I kind of Luhi too. Okay. Luhi is tired. Lohi is late. What a difference one single letter makes. Okay, and then in the chamber we have Committee Member Alice Lee. Aloha.
Good morning, aloha and lomi. Ready to lomi?
Oh, sign me up. I want to be first in line. Okay, and then we have online with us Committee Member Shane Senensi. Aloha.
Aloha, kakayaka kako mai ko'u lume halawai, hau'ole wau ma'ane'i, and o wau waleno. Aloha.
Mahalo. Aloha. And online with us, Committee Member Yukile Sugimura. Oh, you're on mute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes. You're unmuted.
Hey everybody, I'm in my home office in Kula, and there's nobody on this floor with me. Thank you.
Okay, mahalo. And mahalo, Miss Morita at the Lanai District Office, letting us know that there are no testifiers there either. Okay, let's see. We have two non-voting committee members, Councilmember Gabe Johnson and Councilmember Nohelani U'uhajins, who may join us for a little bit regarding Bill 107. Okay, and then committee staff, we have Lori Ann Tengan, Committee Secretary, Tiare Del Castillo, Legislative Analyst, Kirsten Salbo, Legislative Analyst, Megan Moniz, Legislative Attorney, Leigh Deneen, Council Services Assistant Clerk. And then from the administration, we'll have with us from the Department of Personnel Services, Deputy Director Kainea Aiwohi Alo. And from the Department of Corporation Counsel, Deputy Corporation Counsel Christy Trenholm. And with us for our first two items, we have from the Department of Oiwi Resources, Director Kaponaʻai Molitau, Deputy Director Kekai Robinson, and GIS Analyst Lane Kraus. Aloha, and ho'omaikai on the performance at Iolani Palace, a performance of Kumulipo. I was hoping you could share a little mana'o before we get started on the Kumulipo and how that went. Kumu.
Ai ho'omaikai a oi pū. E ka luna ho'omalu.
Mahalo.
for your participation and chanting a beautiful Oli presentation for Kumulipo. Thank you this morning for asking us to speak a little bit. An incredible, incredible gathering in Oahu at Iolani Palace of our community, from people across the state who came to witness the chant and the presentation of the Kumulipo. It was given voice, and I'll let Kumu speak about what the Kumulipo is. But I'd just like to share from my perspective as a participant. And I got to do that presentation of our genealogical chant with my husband and with my family of like-minded practitioners. It was quite impactful, and I think that we're all still coming down from that experience, and how incredible it was to be standing on the steps of Iolani Palace after so many years and so many generations, to be there in front of our community with the support of a very hungry community. Everybody's ears were ready to hear it. Everybody's hearts were ready to accept it. Everybody's na'au was filled that evening. Chanters, the 60 plus of us chanters and our 5 kumu, as well as the community, over 2,000 who were there present in person. And I think at this point, over 10,000 that have watched it in its entirety online, possibly more. And so I really am grateful for that opportunity. I'm grateful for the kumu who organized the event of it. And we are so fortunate in Maui County and at the Department of OEV Resources to have one of these 5 kumu who serve our Maui community. And so I'll pass it over to Kumu Kapono'ai to share about Kumulipo. But mahalo, mahalo.
Mahalo.
Hai velina mai homika ia oe e kiani no ko leo I pukana mai no ke Kumulipo. Good morning to all of our council members. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak on just a little bit about Kumulipo. If I could maybe just paint a picture for you, just for you to imagine being there. On the grounds of Iolani Palace, sitting there in the seats facing the Iolani Palace. On the right-hand side, on the second floor, is a corner unit where back in 1893, Queen Liliuokalani was wrongfully imprisoned and sat there and took paper to pen and wrote and deciphered the entire Kalakaua text of Kumulipo in English so that folks could understand the context of this beautiful, epic, historical chant. Fast forward to today on the 14th of September at 6 p.m. 66 chanters from across ko Hawaii Pai ʻāINA were trained over a year with their kumu to learn excerpts of that epic chant of 2,000 plus lines and deliver it in its entirety. Fast forward a couple of hours into the evening, there is a spotlight that is on the right-hand corner of the room as a symbolic gesture for Liliuokalani. If you could only imagine being in that room, creating that epic chant for all of us to read, and wondering, as the Queen, what it would look like for her people. I can only imagine that, if she just looked out for a minute, what she would envision. With the entirety of 2,500 plus people in the audience, and voices filling the grounds of Iolani Palace in chant form to tell this amazing story of our people. That, to me, is a culmination of amazing intellectual intelligence of Kumu, as well as the brilliance of our people in internalizing, memorizing this entirety of the chant. It also shows you the vulnerability of our own people in having to do such work. It's nerve-wracking, getting up there and having to chant the entirety of it. Everyone did their ultimate best, and that's all as any kumu can ask for of their students. And what culminates out of this is 66 new and enthused student body that will push the Kumulipo forward in learning even more. The last time that this was ever done in public view was probably over 20 years ago on the same grounds with only 6 people at the time. And so you can see the evolution and growth of this particular chant that tells of the epic origins of where we stem from as people. From the depths of Po, from the depths of night to the Puka Keao, to the light of day. And then all of the amazing genealogies that come from that, to the dedication of this chant being done for Lili'u Kalani. So for her to take time in that room to create this amazing piece of work for us to read and look at and then internalize and share with our public and our community is one for me personally that we all needed at that time, and we still do today. It's uplifting to our community, it's uplifting to our ko Hawaii paia ʻāINA and our lahui kanaka. And so thank you for allowing me to share just a little bit about Kumulipo, and we look forward to hopefully one day having it heard again.
Yes.
Okay.
Hopefully real soon. Mahalo, members, for allowing me to provide some mana'o on that historic moment that, as Kumukikai explained, that we it was such a high, it was so powerful. Mahalo, Director Molitao, for I didn't ask them beforehand, so mahalo for really capturing that moment and the purpose and the intention. Kumu Kaponai was one of 5. Kumu Mehana Hain, Mai Kumu, Kumu Kale Nuuhiwa, Kumu Kalania Kana, and Kumu Kamuela Chan, the mastermind behind honoring our queen, her mo'oku auhau in her birth month. So, mahalo. And anyone interested can watch it online. We were actually pretty quick. It was like 2.5, less than 3 hours. 2,102 or 3 lines, depending on which version you look at. And it's on YouTube under Kumulipo if you search Kumulipo. Okay, mahalo for indulging me. We have 3 items on today's agenda. Bill 106, 2025, naming Mapulehu Cultural Preserve. Bill 107, 2025, naming Hamakualoa Cultural Preserve, and operational and budgetary review of the Department of Personnel Services, 7B. If there are no objections, my intention is to take up the first 2 items together since they are similar in action, and then to take up the third separately, and then take testimony after opening remarks on Bill 106 and 107, and then after the last agenda item. Are there any objections?
Objections.
Mahalo, members. Okay, so for Bill 106 and 107, Bill 106, 2025, naming Mapulehu Cultural Preserve, and Bill 107 naming Hamakualoa Cultural Preserve were first discussed at the last KŌMIKE ALOHA ʻāINA meeting on August 21st, 2025. The purpose for these bills is to help bring needed care for our county-owned ʻāINA, particularly those with cultural significance. The cultural preserve inspiration came from the recently renamed Puamana Cultural Preserve at Waianu'ukole, after we changed its name from being a beach park. Because this is a very new initiative, in our last committee meeting, there were questions that we needed to address, and that's why we deferred the item last month. So I'll go over the four main questions. So can it be named a cultural preserve as facilities under Chapter 12.40, Name of Public Facilities? Our Deputy Corp Counsel advised us no. In response to her recommendation to change the chapter title to be broader, we passed Bill 124, 2025 on first reading at our September 8th, 2025 council meeting that changed the word facilities to places to make it consistent with the title of Title 12 and is sufficiently broad to include a cultural preserve or something akin to that. Bill 124, 2025 is on tomorrow's full council agenda for second and final reading, which would legally enable our committee to take action today if it's the pleasure of this body. The second question was, is culture preserve an appropriate term for this? So we asked our OEV department director and deputy director to help us by suggesting or making a recommendation that's more appropriate. And then after my opening remarks, I'll ask them to share what they came up with. The third question was, what are the anticipated ramifications related to naming these areas under Chapter 12.40? So I did meet with Ms. Maile Davis from Malama Hamakualoa to understand the concerns. And since this ʻāINA is managed by Parks Department, I confirmed with them in writing that Bill 107 will not affect some of the concerns that Ms. Davis had. And the last question was whether or what would the rules be after the passage of these bills? And so we discussed that blanket rules would not immediately apply as there are none because this is new, and that it would likely be more of a code of conduct and could be co-created with community to be more place-based. And then that brings us to today's agenda, where we'll hear from the department on the name change. And joining us for our first and second item today is Director Molitel, Deputy Director Robinson, and GIS Analyst Kraus from Department of Wavy Resources. If there are no objections, I would like to designate them as personnel administration, and the administration resource persons in accordance with Rule 18A of the Rules of the Council. Any objections? Okay, mahalo. All right, and then I will invite the department to provide their recommendation.
Aibelin home kako. Mahalo nui for allowing us to allow this time to offer cultural perspectives on the interpretation of cultural preserve. And I will set the framework by saying we get one Maui and we get one opportunity to malama our wahi, our places of storied historical significance and storied places. And so laying that framework, I thought about this particular question for a bit, about what is cultural preserve and how do we look at that and care for that. The terminology that we would like to bring as a suggestion is the term kulaiwi. If you take up the term kulaiwi, it means native land. Some of the root words that you see in there are the terms iwi or oiwi. That refers to the resources, that refers to the native landscape, refers to the historical context. And so that is the overall defining definition of what kulaiwi is. How we look at this particular mana'o of cultural preserve is very parallel to that similar mana'o of kulaiwi. How we care for it is where we as cultural practitioners would look at it differently. Kulaiwi, in reference to this term, is like caring for our ohana, caring for our babies, caring for our makua, and caring for our kupuna. And how we do that is the concepts of malama ʻāINA or aloha ʻāINA concepts. There's also concepts of malama iwi kupuna, ho'i iwi kupuna, and those Hawaiian terminologies are very important to the kulaiwi, to the native landscape, to the native land, and then to all of those that have cultural responsibilities, and not even cultural responsibility, they just have responsibility to the space. And so we offer up that terminology today for both Bills 106 and 107 to utilize the term kulaiwi within this particular designation of hamakualoa and mapulehu. Mahalo.
Beautiful. Mahalo. Okay, so before I open the floor to questions, we will open public testimony. Okay, I don't see any testifiers, so I'm not... Oh, okay, I see a testifier, but he already knows the rules. Okay, if anyone else other than our veteran testifier signs up or speaks up, then I'll read the rules. Okay, we'll open public testimony. Mr. La?
Aloha kahiaka.
Aloha.
Aloha kākou. Aloha akaku. I am a veteran by one day, by the way, U.S. Army. The Hawaiian word of the day is mana'olana, which means hope. And sometimes when I think of this aloha ʻāINA KŌMIKE, then it gives me hope to get down here to Wailuku and participate in the Aupuni o Maui Kalana. Thank you for your time, and I reserve the rest of it for the Kanaka Oiwi.
Mahalo. Any questions for our testifiers? Seeing none. Well, thank you for your testimony. Mahalo. Okay. I see someone in the chat asked to testify, so I will go over the instructions. Testifiers wanting to provide testimony should sign up in the chamber lobby, join the online meeting via the tiny URL link to connect to the Zoom meeting, or call in to the phone number and enter the meeting code noted on today's agenda. Written testimony can be submitted via e-comment link at mauicounty.us/agendas. For individuals wishing to testify via Zoom, please use the raise hand function by clicking on the raise your hand button at the bottom bar. Staff will ask you to enable your microphone and video prior to your turn to testify. You can unmute yourself when you are called upon by clicking on the microphone and camera buttons on the lower left portion of the screen. For those calling in, please follow the prompts via phone. Press *9 to raise your hand. And when it's your turn to testify, press *6 to unmute. Staff will add names to the testifier list in the order testifiers sign up, or raise their hands. For those on Zoom, staff will lower your hand once your name is added. I will then call the name you're logged in under or the last 4 digits of your phone number when it's your turn to testify. If you wish to testify anonymously, please notify staff. Otherwise, please state your name for the record at the beginning of the testimony. Oral testimony is limited to 3 minutes. The next individual on the list testifier log is Miley Davis, followed by Leilani M. Ms. Davis? Oh, there you are.
Hello, good morning.
Aloha.
I just want to thank you guys so much for this discussion and time and place to do it. And especially to Councilmember County and the OEB office for taking the time to talk to Malama Hamakua and letting us ask questions and understand the process. And it was really invaluable, and we appreciated that. And moving forward, we would just like to support Bill 107 in the name change. And thank you for moving in this direction. Thank you.
Mahalo, Ms. Davis. Okay, members, any question for our testifier? Okay, seeing none. Mahalo, Ms. Davis, for your testimony. Our next and final testifier on the list is Leilani M.
Okay. Kala.
Okay, we can hear you
Hello,
and see you. Please proceed.
Sorry, I couldn't. Yeah, I apologize for that. Hi, my name is. I am on the board from Malama Hamakua, and in support of Bill 107, I just wanted to acknowledge out there that it's actually really appreciated that each mopu is getting identified in this way as far as a standing of what a cultural preserve is, and that we can hopefully all work together. And again, thank you for allowing us to have meetings with OEV and support us in this motion of protecting, preserving, and just unveiling what is there that that we work really hard to maintain. So I wanted to support that, and thank you guys.
Mahalo for your testimony. There are no questions. Mahalo. All right, I will do a last call for testimony on Bill 106 and Bill 107. If you would like to testify, you can unmute yourself now or indicate your desire in the chat. Okay, hearing and seeing no one indicating their desire to testify, are there any objections to closing oral testimony and accepting any written testimony into the records?
No objection.
Okay, wonderful. Mahalo. Okay, testimony is now closed on Bill 106 and 107. And I will open the floor for questions from the members. I'm not going to use a timer. I think we're good. Questions. Member Cook.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for coming today and being our resources and helping us with this, with the name change. I'm curious, there was a discussion about parks, preservation, use, access, security, maintenance. I mean, this sort of the whole interconnectivity of the public and the property. Could you give me some feedback as far as, like, besides changing the name, is it going to, how will we now utilize the property, access the property?
Mahalo, Member Cook. So this bill doesn't change that. It just changes the name to now Kulaiwi. So Mapulehu Kulaiwi and Hamakualoa Kulaiwi.
So
Go ahead.
I recognize we're changing the name, And maybe my questions may be too deep. I'm not opposed to changing the name. I'm just curious about, I want to get educated, maybe we can do it later. Okay.
Yeah, and so with Hamakualoa, that area, Malama Hamakualoa has been taking care and stewarding that area and has been working on getting a lease with the county. The department that manages that ʻāINA is Department of Parks and Rec. Right, and I did communicate with Director McCall about whether 107 would change anything that's currently happening. And he confirmed that it would continue to be status quo. Moving forward, I think Department of Oiwi Resources did meet with Malama Hamakualoa, and with Mapulehu, we have been in conversation with some of the ohana that have been stewarding that area. And, you know, perhaps one day we can have, you know, an organization, perhaps the ohana, and then we all work together to better steward that area because it needs attention.
Thank you. I have no opposition to changing the name at all, so thank you.
But I'll invite the department to share any additional mana'o from any of your meetings with Malama Hamakualoa folks, or either Bill 106, 107, and any other mana'o related to that.
So I will share this just for the cultural awareness of the differences between how we look at preservation and how we look at parks and recreation. ʻāINA, and especially for lands. There's certainly throughout Maui Nui, there are places that don't necessarily fall within the designation of park and rec. We understand that because of the storied significance of the space and the historical value of all of that. And so we want to make sure that we bring that level of attention to the conversation of what's here. And so 106 and 107 starts that conversation of what is preservation of what is kulaiwi and how we look at that. And then later on, you know, even further discussion of what are wahipana, storied places that are throughout all of our county, you know, inventory, and then look at how we can bring that level of excellence of cultural education to our entire community. And really realize that some places don't necessarily fit within the designation of parks and recreation, but they might fall more into the area of wahipana designation later on. And I think that's really important as a collective community, that we understand the differences of our lands, and especially in historical storied places. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. That's exactly what I was looking for, because Parks and Recreation is really overtaxed, and I think being able to bring awareness to different areas will hopefully enable us to have preserve, protect security issues, access issues, what people do there. So thank you for that explanation.
And mahalo for that question. Yeah, and to dovetail off of what Director Molita is saying as well. So Parks and Recreation, with the central focus of recreating on the ʻāINA, not all ʻāINA is appropriate for recreating, and building a different pilina is new for our county to do. And so now that we have Department of Oiwi Resources, we would have a department that could help spearhead that intention.
Thank you, Chair. I think Parks could use the help. Thanks.
Mahalo, Member Cook. I see Member Sinetsi with his hand up.
Mahalo mahalo, Chair, and mahalo for bringing this up. I'm supportive of the name change to Kulai'iwi as the cultural preserve. I did want to share that open space funding has helped the East Maui community to acquire over 40 acres along the Hana coastline. And for us, the Kulai'iwi for the East Maui community serves many purposes. One, it protects cultural sites that are located on the Kulai'iwi, as well as access to the ocean where our fishermen can access ancestral fishing grounds. And also for cultural practice. We have our keiki. It serves as a living laboratory, science laboratory when it comes to marine biology, those types of things for educational purposes as well. So I think the fund is very purposeful. However, these are large swaths of land that we are appreciative. I think some of our local communities we're still trying to generate funding so that we can manage these lands and become land managers after years of either plantation or ranch management. So now that these cultural lands are coming back to the community, that is the next step for us to maintain and manage these lands for the next generations. And I did, Chair, want to invite the Office of OEV Resources. I haven't got my district meeting yet, but we did want to share more coastal lands that we do want to put into conservation and continues to have cultural sites and cultural resources on it. But my question for the department was, I'm supportive of Kulai'iwi, and maybe I've always considered Kipuka, if you can explain the difference, Kulai'iwi from Kipuka.
Mahalo for the question, and mahalo for allowing us this opportunity to discuss these very important values and ideas for our Kanaka Oiwi. I also want to acknowledge that, and I would say provide or acknowledge how much how important it is to our community, that our county has now formally recognized a Department of OEV Resources. And so through that lens, through the Hawaiian cultural and a Hawaiian perspective lens, we can take a look at different facets of the way that the county has operated. And for that, I'm very appreciative, because I think Kumu shared in one of our other meetings, Nana ya Hawaii ku'umaumaka. And that comes from our lineage of understanding, which is look at Hawaii through my eyes. Ya Nana ya Hawaii I ku'umaumaka. And so that's what we're doing. We're looking at these issues, these topics, through this very Hawaiian lens. So when we talk about kipuka and the thought of a kipuka typically is a space that is thriving with life, and it can be located in and amongst destruction and devastation. And so some of the examples that can maybe give you an idea of a kipuka, because it's not always within destruction, but a kipuka can be the light shining through the clouds, an opening in a very cloudy day where the sunlight comes through. Kipuka can be a shoal, a coral shoal, where life is protected and thrives and lives in and amongst very rough seas. Another kipuka is following a lava flow. So a lava flow will come and it will create new land and extend new land. But amongst the lava, eventually life will come through, and you'll have, little oases of life, the ecosystem, the kaya mea ola we call, right? So the trees that come up, the things that break through the lava. So a kipuka is that space. When Kumu talked about kulaivi, about a connectivity between people and ʻāINA, a responsibility, a reciprocal relationship. ʻāINA is one of those things that when you invest your mana, it feeds you back. ʻāINA takes care of people. And it's an equal relationship if you allow it to be. If you are exploitative, then you don't get the same benefit for the long term. When we think of a kulaivi, it's that growth of the connection and relationship to the ʻāINA. That you are putting your mana, investing all of who you are and all of who you will be for the long-term commitment of taking care of ʻāINA. And accepting the benefits of that ʻāINA taking care of you right back. Yeah, thank you. Do you have anything to add?
Alo, Deputy Robinson. Chair, I also wanted to share with the members that kulaivi is also an important place to return iwi kupuna back to the ʻāINA. So we know more development happens along our coastal shorelines, and oftentimes when inadvertent burials are found, they're just put in a cardboard box and stored in a storeroom under the stairs. So you can imagine the amount of iwi kupuna that are still in back rooms and offices at the burial council. So another reason why we want to protect some of these places, also to return some of these iwi kupuna burials back to their places that they were disturbed. Thank you.
Mahalo, Member Sanensi. Okay, any other questions, members? Okay. Oh, Member Paulton.
I just was wondering on what was posted. Wasn't kulaivi? Is there like an ASF or
No ASF. I asked if we would be able to make the amendment on the bill title, and it's okay. But I can also confirm with our legislative attorney.
Oh, either way, but then I guess my question is, does it change the Puamana Cultural Preserve at Waianu'ukole? Or this is something completely different?
So I didn't talk to anyone that advocated for the name change at Puamana. And I didn't want to do that without talking to them. So I was waiting to see what the term would be that we would use instead of culture preserve. And then I wanted to give that, because at Puamana, I think the intention was more to preserve. And so I didn't want to change it to what we decided today, without having that discussion with them.
Okay, so we're just gonna amend the bill that was posted orally.
Yes,
Okay.
106 and 107.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, do you want to just opine that our committee can change the title in committee?
I believe you.
Okay.
Because we've done it before.
Okay. Well, just, for the public and for the record. Okay. All right.
I mean, it would
I
be
have
different if it was like second reading at council, but
Right.
in committee, that's where we do the work, so it should be all right.
Yeah, and so the question is whether under sunshine law, if it would affect the notice requirement, and it doesn't. The intention is the same. If there are any other laws that it implicated, aside from chapter 92. Okay, I see no one reaching for the mic, so I'm gonna stick with that. Any other comments or questions? The chair's intention is to pass out both 106 and 107 today. All right, let's see. Okay, the chair will now entertain a motion to recommend passage on first reading of Bill 106, 2025, naming Mapulehu Cultural Preserve. Moved by Member Cook, seconded by Member Lee. The chair will now entertain a motion to amend Bill 106, 2025 to strike Cultural Preserve in the title and in the body of the bill, and to replace it with Kulaiwi.
So, second.
Moved by Member Lee, seconded by Member Paulton, and then we'll just, I can look it up online, but if for the record, Kulaiwi, I think there's a kahako over the A. Yeah, Kulaiwi. Okay.
Sorry, I forgot to ask one question. So the land itself is still gonna be under the jurisdiction of Parks and Recreation, or is it gonna move to OEB Resources?
With this bill, it leaves it under both Mapulehu and Hamakualoa would remain in the departments that it's currently managed under. In the future, as we were talking about it earlier, as you know, the OEB department's only a little over a year old. So as we continue to build capacity, then we can explore other ideas of what management from the county side could look like, because I believe Mapulehu is under Department of Management.
And then the follow-up to that would be, would the Department of OEB Resources be on the lookout for other properties either in the county or owned by the county that would fit this characterization, or is it on another person or entity?
Director?
Short answer, yes. We would be looking at ʻāINA that would have proper designation other than Parks and Rec.
Thank you.
Okay, mahalo, Committee Vice Chair Paulton. Any other discussion on the motion to amend? So we'll be voting now on the motion to amend by striking Cultural Preserve in the bill and replacing it with Kulaiwi so that it'll read naming Mapulehu Kulaiwi. Okay, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. That's unanimous. Is that good enough? Unanimous? Okay. Okay, motion passes unanimously. Okay, now we're on the main motion as amended. Any further discussion? Okay, we'll call for the vote on the main motion as amended to recommend passage of Bill 106, 2025. All those in favor, please raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes unanimously. And now we'll do the same for Bill 107, 2025, naming Hamakualua Cultural Preserve. The chair will entertain a motion to recommend passage on first reading of Bill 107, 2025, naming Hamakualua Cultural Preserve. Moved by Member Lee, seconded by Member Cook. And now the chair will entertain a motion to amend Bill 107, 2025 to strike cultural preserve and replace it with kulaiwi anywhere it appears in the bill.
Second.
Moved by Member Lee, seconded by Member Paulton. Any discussion on the motion to amend? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the motion to amend the bill by striking cultural preserve and replacing it with kulaiwi, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes unanimously. And now the main motion as amended. Any discussion? Member Zanetsi.
Although Chair, speak in support. However, I'm hoping that as we continue to designate these kulaiwi throughout the county, that we also look for some funding resources and sources to maintain and manage these lands for future generations. Something to think about during our budget proceedings. Thank you, Chair.
Oh yeah, mahalo. Absolutely. Okay, any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion as amended to recommend passage on first reading Bill 107, 2025, naming Hamakualua Kulaiwi, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes unanimously. And I think that completes our hana for the first two items. Good. Okay, all right. So, mahalo, Director, Deputy Director, Mr. Kraus. Am I saying your name right? Kraus. Okay, thank goodness. Okay. Okay. Any mana'o before? Okay. Okay. All right. We'll thank the department for coming, and then we'll call. We'll just take our morning recess early, and return at 10:10. Is that okay? Or you want 10:15? Okay, we'll go 10:10. Okay. The KŌMIKE ALOHA ʻāINA will return. I'll reconvene at 10:10. We're now in recess. Will the KŌMIKE ALOHA ʻāINA please return to order? It's 10:14 on September 25th. All right, my committee members are getting nuts without me. And then before we move on to our next and last agenda item, just to clarify the vote on bills 106 and 107, 2025, committee member Tasha Kama is not present with us, so she was not included in the unanimous vote, just for the record. All right, so the next agenda item we have is operational and budgetary review of the Department of Personnel Services. Okay, and on September 20th, 2025, the chair transmitted correspondence to the Department of Personnel Services identifying 2 topics for discussion. The topics identified in the memo are as follows. The department's current hiring process pursuant to Governor Josh Green's 14th proclamation relating to affordable housing, recently upheld by the Supreme Court of the State of Hawaii on September 11, 2025, which suspends civil service laws under Chapter 76, 89, and 89C to enable counties to expedite the hiring of those, quote, directly involved in the construction, development, or redevelopment of housing, the filling of public housing vacancies, the processing of housing vouchers, or in the processing of development-related permit licenses or approvals, end quote. And then the second topic, the department's actions taken pursuant a request from council members to work with a human resource consultant such as WBCP to explore a hiring process using a competency modeling framework rather than minimum requirements for new employees. Joining us for this third item today is Deputy Director Kainea Aiwohi Alo of the Department of Personnel Services. Okay, as well as Deputy Corp Counsel Trenholm. Deputy Director Aiwohi Alo, will you, I don't know, do you want me to designate her resource under Rule 18A of the Rules of the Council? Any objections?
Objection.
All right, mahalo members. Okay, and then Deputy Director Aiwohi Alo, mahalo for being with us today. Would you like to begin with any opening remarks, and then we'll open and close public testimony, and then I'll open up the floors for the council members to ask questions.
Aloha, council members and council chair. We're happy to be here and to answer your questions, and mahalo for having us. I just said aloha, council chair, mahalo for having us, and we're happy to be here to answer your questions.
Oh yeah, the 2 questions in the transmittal.
Yes. So for the first question, our department met with Corporation Counsel and the state's Human Resources Director and to discuss the governor's emergency proclamation. And then in further discussions with Corporation Counsel, we decided not to use the emergency proclamation for the Department of Housing because in the HRS, in section 76-7714, it does allow the county jurisdictions to exempt positions in housing and community development, exempt them from civil service. So we felt that was a better way to exempt these positions from civil service because it is permanent and it's not tied to the governor's emergency proclamation, which is temporary. And then for the second question.
Could you repeat the number?
Yes, section 76-77-14.
And that was HRS?
Yes, HRS. So currently in the Department of Housing, most of Section 8 is exempt from civil service. And then in their newer Housing and Community Development Division, which has a total of 5 positions, 3 of those 5 positions are exempt from civil service.
No, you gotta do testimony first. Oh,
Was that the response to the second?
No.
Item.
So for
Oh, okay.
on the second item, currently we are working with the Department of Management on a RFP to review the county-wide HR systems and functions. We are also working with with Corporation Counsel on another RFP to review our DPS administrative rules as well as county policies that are tied to those administrative rules. And we do anticipate that both RFPs will go out before the end of the year. Thank you, Chair.
Hold your horses as much as you can. Okay. All right. Mahalo for those opening
you
remarks.
mean her little doggies? Hold your little doggies.
Hold back. Hold call back. All right. Let's see. We will open public testimony. So I see the 2 individuals signed up to testify on this item. The first individual is Michelle McLean, followed by Johan Law if he returns, because it looks like he may have dropped off the call. All right. Aloha, Ms. McLean. You may proceed.
Aloha Chair, committee members. I'm Michelle McLean, Executive Assistant to Council Chair Lee and speaking as a former planning director and deputy, where for 12 years I was involved with personnel matters. When we talk about vacancies, we have to talk about filling them and also preventing them, and both are challenging within the current state and county systems. The challenges with filling vacancies is mostly at the county level, and I'm not dissing DPS at all or its people. The problem is that their rules and procedures are restrictive and inflexible, so it's great to hear their RFPs going out to look at those. When a department wants to fill a position, they submit a request to DPS, who recruits, screens applicants for minimum qualifications or MQs, and then they provide the department with a list of eligible applicants. So DPS decides who's in and who's out according to their, I believe, flawed guidelines. The department only gets DPS's top-ranked candidates on the list. We don't get to see all the applications, nor have any role in qualifying someone. So there could be someone who, in the department's mind, would be a great candidate, but DPS's checklist didn't put them in the top tier on the list. And here's a real example. Years ago, we recruited for a division chief position and got the list from DPS. Then we got a call from a former employee who had applied for the position and was told that they did not qualify. This person had been a high-level planner for years with the department and had also served as deputy and director. But DPS said they didn't meet the MQs because they lacked the years of experience. Fortunately, the candidate knew to call DPS and explain their pre-county work history and got DPS to include it as qualifying. So the list was revised to include this candidate, who, by the way, we hired. So for hiring, the departments, excuse me, should have a greater role in screening and qualifying applicants. That's a county level process that can be changed. For retention, for preventing vacancies, the state and county system both present challenges. If a manager wants to add duties or change supervisory responsibilities, they can't, even if that person is willing and even if that person is the best one to take on those tasks. We could change the position or try to reallocate them, but they might not meet the MQs on paper of that higher position. Managers also can't give raises, bonuses, or any other financial recognition or incentive. We are stuck within the step that is set when the staff person is hired. They're locked into their step and only get the occasional modest pay increase per the union contract. So that makes it difficult to retain good people. You can't give them bonuses or raises, and upward movement is cumbersome, if not impossible. Addressing that means going statewide with the 4 counties and the state. And if you can take that on, it grows to thousands of government employees. Can I have 30 more seconds?
You can have a minute.
Oh, thank you. The county system needs a refresher too. We had an excellent zoning inspector with a 4-year criminal justice degree who wanted to get on the planner track for its greater career advancement opportunities. This person knew the job, and we knew they could have done the job well. But DPS said that they didn't meet the MQs because they wouldn't give full credit for the criminal justice degree, since some of their classes weren't within the right subjects. I actually provided them my college transcript and asked if my classes in French, springboard diving, and calculus would have counted, and they said yes, because my degree is in political science. So we could not place that person in a planner position at a comparable or higher pay level, and so they left. That was a loss for the county for sure. There's a lot more to say about the state and county systems, but the message is that they both need big changes if we are serious about filling vacancies and retaining staff. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Mahalo, Ms. McLean. Okay, we have questions from 2 of our committee members. First, Committee Vice Chair Polton, followed by Member Senensi.
Thank you, Chair. I share Ms. McLean's pain because they wouldn't let my bachelor's of math education qualify for a physical education degree. But given your expertise and experiences, can we request her to be a resource to the discussion?
Members, any objections? Okay, no objections. And I think her expertise is being a former director of our county department and with firsthand experience of filling positions and going through the hiring process. So I don't have any objections. Are you available to serve and willing to serve as a resource person?
If Chair Lee says it's okay.
Oh, Chair Lee. You have to turn on your mic. She said, of course, if everyone believes me. She won't confirm. Okay. And then Member Senensi, would you like to ask your question now, or do you want to wait until we close public testimony? Up to you.
I can wait, but I think the county denied my Bachelor of Architecture dream when I tried for the GIS position as well. Thank you.
Good thing you both became council members.
Right.
We accept all kinds of degrees.
Instead.
Okay. Okay, and I had a question too, and I'll wait until we close public testimony. Okay, let's see the list. All right. Okay, so it looks like the next individual that had signed up to testify is not online. Yeah, okay. All right, and then that would complete the list. If our testifier in the gallery would like to step up. Okay, go ahead.
I don't want to waste my 3 minutes, chairs. I'll be short and give the rest of my time to the Hawaiians. But in my personal experience, I'm glad Mr. Cook's listening because this has to do with the job and working. I would love to work for the County of Maui. I'd love to get one of them little shirts. It says County of Maui on it. I don't think I could actually be an employee of the county unless they change the rules some more. And even if they change them a lot, I don't think it would work. But so I got an honorable discharge from the U.S. Army, so that wouldn't hurt me at all on that one. But the criminal record from the United States of America, that probably wouldn't go very well, even if I tried to explain to them that I wouldn't say innocent, but not guilty is more closer to it. So when I realized that I could work for myself, it's called contracting, they call it. Mr. Cook knows about that. All you got to do is get an insurance, and because if you're working on especially some of these fancy houses around here, if there's, I'll use this for an example, if there's a big old plate glass window and you're doing something, you accidentally, like even weed eating, you bust the window with a rock. So who's gonna pay for that window if you don't have any money? So that's why you have to have insurance. But to get insurance, the guy's gonna ask for some kind of like ID card. So we already went over that, ID card and address. So how am I gonna do that? I know that's not up to the personnel department, but if you guys could kind of talk to the state and the DMV guys over there with that. But I went over to the state over here. I finally found the office of, it's actually called a tax ID number, which would be, it's not called a business license, it's called a tax ID number. And on the bottom of the form, it says payable in US dollars. So once again, I'm questioning, I'm glad that this committee kind of blends it better with the Office of OEV Resources. Maybe we could work something through them, so they got a heavy load. But the girl, started talking about Lily Okalani in 1893, and the girl that was at the window, she said she's actually Hawaiian, but she don't want to hear it. That's not her job. And so I was like, well, why would I even, if I had $20 to give you guys for a tax ID number, why would I sign up with the state of Hawaii? So yeah, I'm available to work as long as nobody just like trusts me and doesn't, I might need a little supervision the first couple of days, but after a while, you can trust me, yeah. All right, Mr. Cook, is that a deal? Thank you for your time, Chair.
Okay, mahalo, Mr. Long. Okay, seeing no questions, well, thank you for your testimony. I will do a last call for testifiers now. Anyone wishing to testify, you may unmute yourself at this time or indicate in the chat that you would like to testify. Okay, seeing no one indicating their desire to testify, are there any objections to closing oral testimony and receiving any written testimony into the record? No objections. Okay, mahalo members. Okay, testimony is now closed. And, okay, okay. So for this Rule 7B item, the correspondence I made reference to earlier in my remarks is Granicus item number 1, and then the 14th proclamation and the Supreme Court, Hawaii Supreme Court case are both Granicus item 2, correspondence from the committee chair, if anyone wants to look at that. And then the chair will follow up. So I guess to make things smoother, we'll start with the first item, which is regarding the hiring process as it relates to the 14th proclamation relating to affordable housing. And then after we exhaust any questions regarding that first topic, then we can ask questions on the second topic regarding using a different process for hiring. Okay. And I guess maybe I'll put 5 minutes on the clock. Okay. All right. Okay, I'm gonna go first. So for the 14th proclamation, at the end, it has a rules relating to the implementation of the 14th proclamation relating to the affordable housing. Section 4, application of suspended laws. A, Chapter 76 HRS officers and employees. And then there are 4 subsections that provide guidance on hiring and then transitioning employees that are hired under the proclamation. Is there a reason? I mean, I guess I heard you explain that the preference is 76-77, And point 14 is positions of the Housing and Community Development Office or Department of each county, provided that this exemption shall not preclude in each county from establishing these positions as civil service positions. I guess I'm not understanding why we wouldn't take advantage of the proclamation while it's available to us, especially after we bifurcated DHHC, so human concerns from housing. And then, we have a number of vacancies that we've been struggling to fill. Yeah, okay, so I guess that's my question.
Thank you, Chair. In our discussions with Corporation Council, we just felt, so Section 8 of housing, they are exempt from civil service under this section. So we just felt using the same exemption for the other employees, and being that it is a permanent exemption and not tied to the temporary emergency proclamation, we felt that was a better fit for the department and for the employees who would be hired into those positions.
Would you mind expounding on why, like better in what way?
So I believe, well, in our discussions with the state's Human Resources Director, it was mentioned that the compensation tied to the governor's emergency proclamation, so it opens up the compensation for the director, but when the emergency proclamation ends, that compensation could be lowered depending what compensation was, how the amount of the compensation, but that it could be lowered and could be affected. So the employee could be negatively affected with that. And then also in discussions with the housing director, they wanted to try and keep all of the compensation kind of tied to the civil service equal counterparts as well. So,
which director? I'm sorry.
The housing director and deputy director.
They wanted to keep the compensation similar.
Yeah, all similar. Yes, because they do have three divisions, the county housing division, federal housing division, and the housing and community development division. So they want all of the compensation to be similar instead of this one administrator, these positions in the housing and community development division to be like very unequal to the other counterparts.
Deputy Corp Counsel.
Sure, and just to add for like a big picture, just under HRS, all county positions are required to be civil service unless they fall under an exemption set forth in HRS Chapter 76. So the default is civil service, but if you can find an exemption that exists under the law or an emergency proclamation, then you don't have to follow all the rigorous civil service requirements of that. I think that's the process that Ms. McLean was referring to that takes up a lot of time and effort. So if you're exempt, then you're more of an at-will employee, and your compensation can be more flexible, if that helps.
Okay, that is clear. I guess I still don't understand why.
So I think for the EP, Chair, if you see attached to it, there are like the emergency rules relating to how it applies to Chapter 76. And it talks about converting those positions back to civil service once the emergency proclamation expires. So the thought was that, if they hire people under the EP, and it eventually is going to have to end, as the Hawaii Supreme Court said, then they would be converted back to civil service. But if they are hired under the exemption that already exists under HRS 76-7714, they don't have to be converted back to civil service at any point. So I think the exemption was underutilized generally. And it was good that this EP came out, and I think this was a few months ago. We all looked at, hey, can we use one of the existing exemptions in the law for these positions?
Members, do you mind if I just ask one last follow-up question? Because I understand.
Take 3 minutes.
I just want to finish this line of questions since I'm following the explanation. So under 76-7714, that exemption would allow for a different compensation, or that compensation would remain similar to the steps that is provided in collective bargaining agreements.
It allows for a different compensation. So with that one, so it's similar compensation with the governor's emergency proclamation, but with positions hired under this exemption, they're not, if they do not get reverted back to civil service, which would be decided by the director of that department, whether or not the positions get converted back to civil service, then the compensation would have to be in line with the civil service and with the union contracts. But under the exemption, no, the compensation is flexible.
Okay, I have more questions, but I will open it up to the other members. And Ms. McLean, you're either welcome to leave your video on, or you can just turn your video on when a question comes in your direction. Okay, so we'll go to Committee Vice Chair Paulton, followed by, that was you? Okay, Charlie.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ms. Trenholm and Ms. Alo. So I just wanted to clarify what I heard was correct, if I got it correct. That if they're hired under the existing emergency proclamation that Supreme Court ruled was okay, that they could be compensated at a different rate. And when the emergency proclamation is POW, they would be POW. Oh, that's not correct.
No, the compensation would have to be converted back to civil service.
Oh, okay. So they would then become a civil service employee because they're getting civil service compensation.
Yes.
So, and then I also heard that the housing director wanted to compensate them at civil service rates. And so if the emergency proclamation finishes, then they would be getting paid the same.
I don't know if it's the same, but similar. He kind of wanted to keep it all in the same range. I don't know if it's the exact same dollar amount, but yeah.
And then the problem that you saw with it, if you can remind us.
That when the emergency proclamation ends, these positions would be converted back to civil service and would have to follow. So if that compensation was higher than allowed under civil service, those employees would get a pay cut.
And so rather than giving the applicant the opportunity to choose if that's something that they wanted to live with, you just decided we're not going to do it?
Oh, no. So the positions are still exempt from civil service. We just exempted them under the permanent basis under the HRS, so that these positions will not be converted back to civil service when anything ends. It will remain exempt from civil service, and the applicant or the employee who takes that position will not be negatively affected.
And if we had chosen the other route of the emergency proclamation, would we have been able to fill more than 3 out of the 5 positions?
I am not sure. So one position is an expansion position. That's the secretary position. We actually just finished creating it yesterday or this morning. So that's why that's still vacant.
You just created the position and now you're gonna post it to get applicants to vet to, that's where we're at. Okay, sorry.
Correct, yes. And then one position is not exempt from civil service. It is filled, but it's not exempt from civil service because that employee came over from the state and was a civil service employee. So
We're not really concerned with the filled positions, just the vacancies.
And one of the other vacancies is a housing community development project coordinator. That position was recently reallocated. It was a planner. The department felt it needed to be more of a development coordinator, so that one was just reallocated. So we're recruiting for that one as well.
And those won't be filled with the emergency proclamation. It'll be filled with the regular civil service process?
The secretary, the department chose to keep that civil service, so that will be filled using the regular civil service process. The development coordinator, the department requested that it be exempt from civil service under the 767714. So that will be filled however the department chooses.
How many vacancies total are there currently in the housing department?
In the total housing department, there are 7.
And under the emergency proclamation, would they be qualified to be filled? All 7 of them?
A few of them, yes. So one of the vacancies is in CDBG, which the reorganization was just approved. So that is exempt from civil service. And they're hoping to move forward with that. I think we're kind of just finishing up the movement of that position from Office of the Mayor to Housing.
Okay. My time is up, but I'm not sure how much you take into effect current events that over 10,000 people got displaced, and that's why, that's not why there's an emergency proclamation on housing. That was before 10,000 people got displaced. And so, we were hoping for a sense of urgency, and it doesn't feel like that's happening. I'm not sure. I guess in my next go around, I'll have some other questions. Thank you.
Mahalo, Committee Vice Chair Bolton. And then I'll just quickly read this section in the proclamation. All positions established under the proclamation may be exempt from civil service and may be converted to civil service positions at the discretion of the appointing authority. Exempt positions and appointments converted to civil service shall comply with the Department of Human Resource Development Policy and Procedures 1000.002, except that all employees converted shall be treated as if they had occupied the position for a minimum of 1 year. It is the appointing authority's discretion to use an existing established civil service or exempt position, or to establish a new position to hire under the proclamation. So if there wasn't going to be a pay cut because the housing director intended to keep whatever employees paid at a similar civil service pay, then there would be no negative impact to the employee, right?
Correct.
Okay. Chair Lee.
Thank you. As a former housing director, there is a difference between the exemption that you referenced, the state statute, not the emergency one. The Section 8 is a federally funded program, and so is CDBG. And the reason why Section 8 does not fall under civil service is because of the fact that the revenue stream is different, and but they follow the same comparable wages, but they do not have, just for you guys' information, they do not have the protections of civil service. So that I can see a reluctance to use that option because you just don't have the power of the union behind you. But you still can get the same benefits. And as my colleague here, Member Paulton, mentioned, we're 3 years down. You guys are, not you, but the administration is 3 years, going on 4 years, yeah, pretty soon, into his term. And only now you guys are looking at outsourcing a study or assistance in helping come up with a solution to address all the vacancies. Because now we're at, what, over 700 vacancies, yeah? 700 vacancies in that neighborhood, right? I mean, that is extreme. And I'm not blaming you, I'm just wondering, like, why? Why did everybody wait this long? Do you know?
Deputy Director. No, I'm not sure, for the administration, I can't speak for the administration. But as far as our department, we have been trying to get out there in the public more. The hiring and the vacancies is not just isolated to County of Maui. It is a nationwide, unfortunately, crisis, I believe. We have, in our department, changed some of our processes, procedures. We've reviewed minimum qualifications.
And what has been the outcome of those changes?
More recently, we have seen a trend upward in the number of applications that we're receiving each month.
And have you looked at other internal processes or practices whereby perhaps the people screening the applicants could broaden, their criteria so that more people could be possibly hired or considered for hiring? Have you looked at that, or you just staying with the same script?
No, so we did look at that. We did do a first round of reviewing minimum qualifications. We did make some changes on some of the job classes to their minimum qualifications. We are
Okay, thank you. The other thing is sometimes, a lot of these issues are just, even though you look at them, they need to be dealt with in a more substantial way. Because some of these problems date back before this administration. So what dates back before this administration is your department, yeah? And so the point is, when something is not working, I don't know, I get the feeling that your department thinks it's somebody else's job to work on filling those hundreds of vacancies. Is that what you're saying to me?
No, that's not what I'm saying. But I do think it is our job, in conjunction with the hiring department, to get the vacancies filled.
Yeah. So just to break it down to something that's, achievable, wouldn't you want to take, let's say, the top 2 departments having the most trouble filling their vacancies and have intense work trainings with them to figure out, how can we fix this problem immediately? Because, from our perspective, I'm going to skip over before I forget this other thing I was going to say. I noticed that in your department, you have EMs. Yeah? How many EMs do you have?
I believe 3.
3. Okay. This is excluded management. Now, I was told in the past that excluded management is a high category. Okay. Now, in your case, do these EMs supervise other people, like a whole section?
No.
No. So that's kind of what I notice about your department, is that you're kind of flexible with your employees, where the other employees from the other departments don't have that discretion, it seems. Because EMs are like well above the SRs. You know, so that's one thing I want to come back to, okay? Thank you. And the other thing I was going to ask you about was the budget. Thank you.
Mahalo, Chair Lee. Okay, first, before I call on the next council member to ask questions, I see that committee member Tasha Kama has joined us. Aloha, Member Kama.
Aloha kakahiaka, Chair, and my apologies for being late. I had a doctor's appointment. Makes me feel sore all over. But nonetheless, I'm very glad to be here. I'm very glad that you're taking up today's subject matter, because I think that has been such a great discourse for us in terms of not having enough employees and what the holdup is, and many of the department heads talking about their non-involvement in the participation of getting people hired for their department. So thank you, Chair.
Mahalo, Member Kama. Chair Lee was offering lomies earlier in the meeting today, so maybe you want to go check her out at her office a little later.
I will do that.
Also, do you have anyone in your workspace with you?
Chair, I do not have anyone in my workspace, but I do have an adult in the next workspace. And you know, I live in a very tiny home, right? So, I mean, a space is a space is a space. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, mahalo, Member Kama. Okay, next who had his hand up is Committee Member Senensi, followed by Member Cook. And I'm giving everyone 5 minutes, Member Kama.
Oh, okay. Alo, Chair. And I might need some lomi to.
Got a line, Chair Lee.
Yeah, I was trying to get a chiropractor appointment today, but the irony is that he's in Hana.
And you're not.
And I'm not, right?
Oh, sorry.
My question for the department was the housing department exempt from the EP, or was the position exempt?
The positions.
Oh, okay. Wait, did you say one position or all 6 positions?
They have several positions that are exempt from civil service.
Okay, but the only caveat is that should the director want to hire them on an emergency status, once the EP ends, that they wouldn't be civil service, or they would have. Oh, go ahead.
They would convert to civil service.
Oh, they would. Oh, so in the interim, they won't be civil service.
Correct. So if they're hired under the emergency proclamation, they would be exempt from civil service. And then when the emergency proclamation ends, they would convert to civil service.
And the director, has the director expressed his need for more personnel despite the civil service issue?
I have not heard that request from the director.
Oh, okay. I mean, I'm supportive, and I know you guys are using HRS for your reasoning. I just wanted to add, I think Member Johnson always say, if your hair is on fire, act like it's on fire. But I just wanted to say, you know, the Hana Habitat project, we lost our funding because there was no housing personnel to continue the funding for us. And that was 25 homes with the potential of 50 homes in Hana. And we haven't had an affordable housing project in Hana for over 30 years. And so because of the shortage in the housing, we lost that potential, and the Hana community would have to reapply for that housing project again. So, I mean, it's, for us, it's important to fund that housing so that we can, you know, I mean, it really affected a lot of families in Hana, 25 families that signed up, and now they're I don't know how much longer they have to wait until we have to fund the project again. So that's my concerns with hiring emergency hires. Thank you.
Member Sinensi, to your earlier question, the housing department has 7 vacancies or 8 vacancies.
Yes, 7 vacancies.
So they want to fill those vacancies. I wasn't sure if you were asking about those vacancies or if you were asking if the department wanted more positions that don't currently exist. If you could clarify.
I guess my question was, does the department want to utilize the governor's EP to hire to fill these vacancies?
No, the department did not want to use, they first wanted to use the governor's EP, but when we discussed this HRS, the director wants the positions to remain exempt from civil service. So he does not want them to convert to civil service should the emergency proclamation end. So he was in agreement with using this HRS section for the exemption.
And I don't know if it's either or. I think, you know, whichever we can utilize best to fill the vacancies should be utilized in those particular situations. It seemed like the exemption applied clearly, and then they wouldn't have to worry about getting converted back to civil service. But again, I think both departments are open to utilizing whichever one makes sense to hire people faster.
Thank you, I heard the bell. Thank you, Chair.
Mahalo, Member Sinensi. So in that section that I read, in the emergency proclamation application of the rules that's suspended, it does say that exempt positions and appointments converted to civil service shall comply with Department of Human Resource Development policy and procedure, except that all employees converted shall be treated as if they, oh, I missed it. Okay. Exempt positions and appointments converted to civil service shall, where is that section? I'm missing it. Okay, here. All positions established under proclamation may be exempt from civil service and may be converted to civil service positions at the discretion of the appointing authority. It is the appointing authority's discretion to use an existing established civil service or exempt position or to establish a new position to hire under the proclamation. Just for, and then, so it's not the same as an emergency, like a 90-day emergency hire, just in case that was not clear.
That's correct. It's not the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that clear? Okay. All right. Member Cook, followed by Member Sugimura.
Thank you. I want to thank you both for being here today. Your department is obviously the focal point. You're the gatekeeper for employment. You've got the civil service on one side. You have all of us and everybody else in all the departments needing personnel on the other side. Challenges in finding people applying, etc. I'm curious, like the RFP for system, HR system and function. Do you, the people who are doing this daily, have a list of recommendations and suggestions of how it could be improved? I mean, it's like, you hear all the time about the complaints. And I look at it, when I was an employer, I was generally asked the people, like around here, I'd ask clerks, I asked the people who are actually like in the trenches, what do you need to make it easier for you to do your job? And I'm not your clerks are in the trenches, but I'm asking, do you have suggestions that you've suggested that aren't able to implement? I guess in a long-winded way, do you really need to put it off an RFP, or do we need to give you, somebody need to give you the authority to say, we need to do this, this, and this, and it'll start to work?
Yes, we do have some ideas and suggestions. Yeah, that we're putting into the RFP, and that we want to, whoever this consultant that gets hired, that we want to sit down with as a primary stakeholder in this to discuss those ideas and suggestions. I don't know if we need an RFP or not, or what to move forward with our changes that we'd like to make. Yeah.
So I guess, what in your day-to-day challenges do you have that limit your ability to, when you get a recruit, send them to the departments to review instead of you review? Because I hear from the various department heads, they need people, but they don't get to, similar to what Ms. McLean said, they don't get to see any applicants unless they've gone through your screening process. And it seems like if we changed that, where it was a simultaneous, you're reviewing them, they have the opportunity to interview them, and they could give you a heads up, this person's really qualified for the job, then maybe it might make your easy. Is that possible to shift gears a little bit so you continue to do the interview, but give the departments the possibility to do interview? Because I hear that repeatedly, so I just want to know feedback on that.
So currently we don't interview for the departments. We do the screening, so the applications do come into us, and we do the screening. I guess there's some, I don't know what's the right word, maybe fear, worry, about the departmental HR employees that are out in the departments, that we do want to ramp up their training to get them trained so that maybe they can assist us with that screening. So I don't think that we don't want to give away some work and get the help that we need, but I do think that there would need to be proper training before.
Great, so, no, well, that helps. So the screening process, you just said a screen, a filter can get blocked up so things don't get past it. And so that seems like the screening process is one of the challenges in the system. How much power or authority does your department have in changing the screening process?
I think the concerns that we hear about the screening process is when people don't get passed through, who don't meet the minimum qualifications, not necessarily the length of time it takes for screening, but more these people didn't meet the MQs.
So, I apologize to interrupt you, I don't want to be rude. You put that's like your finger on the pulse, the MQs. The finger on the pulse, because you have MQs that the department might say, you know, people have to be trained. Anyway, Correct. I'll wait for my next one, but it's just like the minimum requirements. Somebody has, I would talk, sorry. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Mahalo, Member Cook. Member Sugimura.
Thank you. Wonderful subject that we're talking about. I think it's long overdue. We've heard it, all throughout budget. The departments mentioning about the challenges of personnel and having to work through it and shortfalls. And not only is this, I think we're talking about housing, but I think all the departments reflected that frustration during the budget process. So therefore, I think managing director came up with he's going to put out an RFP to help personnel, and so did the council members. So can you talk about the two RFPs that you're coming out with, I think?
Member Sigerma, we're talking about the first topic first, and then I think that would fall under the second topic after we finish the first topic.
Housing. So only housing and the EP. Then I'll wait.
Okay. Member Kama for your first round. I know you snuck some comments in when we were doing roll call.
I wanted to, hopefully not to reiterate what already has been said on the floor in my absence today. So if I wander in that territory, just redivert. So I wanted to talk about the process of actually what actually goes on in terms of when a member of the community applies. So they come and they can either go online or go into the sixth floor and fill out this paperwork. So what happens when that individual submits his paperwork? What happens, and how many days after that does anything happen, if anything at all? Assuming he meets the minimal qualifications.
And then Member Kama, this is as it relates to the emergency proclamation related to affordable housing.
Thank you.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for the positions that are exempt from civil service, the hiring process lies with the department. So normally for civil service exempt positions, the department sometimes the department will ask us to post it on our government website. And then we ask them if they would like us to accept the applications, which is the normal application that everyone fills out, whether they're applying for civil service or non-civil service, or if they would just like that applicant to submit a resume to their own, so to the department's email or mailing address. And the department actually does all of the screening and hiring. So we are just normally just posting for those exempt from civil service positions.
So does the applicant ever get informed as to whether or not they've reached a place? I mean, or they get notified that their application has been received, somebody's reviewing it, somebody should get back to them regarding it in a month or so, or 30 days or anything like that? Is there anything that tells the applicant next step?
For these positions that are exempt from civil service, I am not sure what the applicant receives because the department handles the entire recruitment. We just put out the announcement that there's a vacancy.
Okay, I get that. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, mahalo, Member Kama. All right, I believe did I miss anyone for round one? Okay, I'm gonna go round two. All right. On the same topic, because I have more questions on the first item. Okay. All right. So because the proclamation is so broad, I had it. Employees directly involved in the construction, development, or redevelopment of housing, the filling of public housing vacancies, the processing of housing vouchers, or the processing of development-related permits, licenses, or approvals, especially that last line. It seems to implicate more than just a housing department, right? So Department of Planning, Public Works, any of the employees in the other department, in any of our county departments that handle permits. Are there any vacancies there that would benefit from using the 14th EP to hire under?
I did not look into those vacancies, so I am not sure, but that is something that we can look into.
Okay, and then when I cut in line after Committee Vice Chair Fulton, before Chair Lee, I asked about whether there would be any negative impact if the intention of the director was to hire an employee and compensate that employee at the same rate as the civil service employee. And your response to that question was no, that there wouldn't be a negative impact to that employee because the pay would be similar.
Son, let me know when you're going to pull that.
Chair.
Let me know when you pull that.
Yes. Oh, Member Kama, I'm gonna mute you. Oh, okay. Member Bolton.
I think Mr. Mitchell is in the chambers till 15 more minutes, and from my understanding, when Deputy Iwohia Alo said that they agreed with that, I don't think that the housing department was given a choice. So would it be okay to have him as a resource to explain his experience?
Members, any objections to inviting Housing Director Mitchell to join us on the floor?
No objections.
Okay. Okay, I will pause my time. I have 3 minutes more. And then we'll invite Director Mitchell if he would like to join us on the floor for questions. And while you make your way up, you can sit here. You can stand at the podium if you only have a short time. You're welcome to sit here, or you can also sit here. Lots of options for you. But the understanding for my first round of questions was when I asked why using HRS 77-76.14 would be preferable by DPS and Corp Council over the Governor Green's emergency proclamation relating to affordable housing. What I understood as the response was that there could be a difference in compensation, and that could be a negative impact to the employees, and that hiring under HRS 76-77 would not require the conversion from a hire under the EP to becoming a civil service. So those are the two, and you're welcome to correct me if that was not correct. And then one of the committee members asked if the housing department requested to hire new employees to fill the current vacancies using the emergency proclamation. And the response that we received from Deputy Director was that no, the housing department did not request to hire under the EP.
I think there was miscommunication on the last one.
Okay, go ahead.
I did think that Councilmember Senensi was referring to like additional positions, like expansion positions, which that request, that is what I was responding to.
Okay, so to clarify the record, Member Senensi asked about whether the housing department requested additional positions, and then the response was no. Yeah?
Correct, not
and then
positions for the department.
I guess,
Chair.
Go ahead, Member Senensi.
I referred to, and I said 5 or 6 vacant positions in my inquiry.
Okay, so when Member Senensi asked, he was asking about filling the vacant positions using the expedited process through the emergency proclamation. And so I guess Director is here. So did you make that request, Director Mitchell?
Thank you, Chair Rollins Fernandez, and members for allowing me to jump into the meeting, and forgive me if my breathing is a little manic. I rushed over here to make sure the record was correct. The Department of Housing requested using the emergency proclamation to fill the vacancies in the Housing Community Development Division. We did so after several months of working through the DPS process. And I got to the point where I said to my leadership team, we cannot do the work of 4 or 5 people all the time. We have to fill these positions. So when we were unable to go through the process efficiently, I said, then let's try the EP. I didn't do that first. We met with Corporation Counsel by email and in person to better understand what the process would be to fill the positions under the EP. When we had a sense of that, we then communicated in writing to the Department of Personal Services our preference to fill positions in that division with the EP. We received a memo back saying we were not authorized to use the EP. Instead, we were authorized to use HRS, I believe it's 77-76 sub 14. Instead of debating the issue, even though there was no legal analysis in that communication, I then sent a memo back to DPS saying, okay, please convert all of the positions in the Housing and Community Development Division to exempt positions. That to me is not me saying I wish to use that method. It is me trying to work within the system. I've subsequently discussed this challenge with the governor's office because I believe even though the EP was being challenged, it was not enjoined and it was still valid. Last week, the Supreme Court found that the EP, the last one, was valid. The earlier 3 ones were invalidated because there was an overreach. But the one we were choosing to use was the valid one. I still have the position that we should use every tool we have to fill the positions we are in an emergency, period. So I want to make sure there's no equivocation about my intent to fill our positions as quickly as we can.
Okay, I'll open the floor to questions from Director Mitchell. Chair Lee.
Director Mitchell, I feel sorry for your situation, but I'm sure a lot of directors are in the same predicament in a sense. Okay, many years ago, I was the budget chair, and we took what we collected for building permits, we put it in a special fund, and we used that money to pay for all the people who worked in permitting, okay? Is it possible for you to follow the HRS exemption, and not the emergency one, the HRS, and take a percentage from the Affordable Housing Fund to pay for your employees that you need to hire? Because the bottom line, if you don't pay them sufficiently, you're not going to get good people. And this way, you can decide what you want to pay to who you're going to hire, which if you use the other way, you'd be stuck following civil service levels, which may not be adequate. So have you thought about that?
Thank you for the question, Chair Lee. I don't think we felt there was a need to look into whether we could use the Affordable Housing Fund, and I question whether we can do that. But we've had vacancies for a sufficiently long period of time that for this fiscal year, we felt that if we used the EP, we could pay competitively to attract certain people without using some other mechanism that you're referring to. I rushed over here to make sure that the council is clear on our intent and what we wanted to do and what we were told to do instead. I want to make sure that's really clear because I'm still of the position as a former general counsel to a governor that until the EP is enjoined or invalidated, it is valid. And when we were directed to not use it without legal analysis, I chose not to question that. I'm no longer the lawyer, I'm the administrator. I said, okay, let's use the state statute instead. So I just wanted to pop up really quick to make sure, as the Director of Housing, there's no confusion about my intent and attempts to fill those positions.
Mahalo, Charlie. Member Cook. By Member Sugimura.
Thank you, Director, for your coming and clarification. From your...
To the mic.
Given the flexibility that you're requesting and the funding that you have in the department from the open positions, do you think that you could fill them? Are there people available that you could, well, I'm saying, what's the next step? The next step is you would have flexibility to interview and hire them.
We have already gone through a couple of cycles where we've lost candidates. That's why I came up here. I don't wish to lose any more candidates.
Was that the MQ issue of why you lost candidates?
I will just say that in that particular division, the Housing and Community Development divisions, where we've lost candidates, I do not wish to lose any more candidates. I wish to move quickly.
Thank you, sir. I hear
Mahalo,
you.
Member Cook, Member Sugimura. And then we only have 5 more minutes with Director Mitchell.
Okay, so Director, what would you propose is your next step? Thank you very much for sharing all of this facts and details with us. So what is the next step?
Thank you, Member Sugimura. The EP is valid. My position, whether as a lawyer or an administrator, is I should be able to use it. There should not be a debate on whether I should be able to use it. And if we're told we cannot use it without a legal basis, I question that. So my position is we should be able to use it.
Okay. Oh, is this then a question we need to ask personnel then?
I think so.
You're ready to move forward.
That's right.
Right. Okay. I will wait. Your time is valuable.
Okay. Mahalo, Member Sugimura. Okay. This, it's a question for Corp Counsel first, and then a follow-up. In the EP, in the rules on the bottom, applying suspended laws, is the appointing authority's discretion to use an existing exempt position. So if DPS is already approved exempting the position under 76/77.14, what Chair Lee mentioned about preferring this exempt position under state statute over the EP, my understanding in reading the application of the rules is that the department doesn't have to choose, that the department could use the EP first and then convert it to the exempt position as approved by DPS under statute. Does that make sense? Is that a correct reading and interpretation of that?
Can you hear me with this mic?
Yes.
Yes, Chair. I think that's that can be contemplated as the provision you read, and I believe that Director Mitchell did send out an email about that, and then we were going to meet to discuss, and I'm not sure what happened with that. Sorry, I get so many emails, but I don't think we ever set up that meeting to discuss that path forward.
Okay.
If I may jump in here, Chair.
Please, Director.
And I agree with everything you just said, Christy. In fact, we did talk about that. And my position was the EP was valid during the litigation because it wasn't enjoined. We should be able to use it. And if it is subsequently enjoined or invalidated, at that point, if we've made appointments under the EP, then we can convert the position. After I communicated that, we received a memo saying we were not authorized to use the EP. So we never had the meeting.
Okay, I guess I'm just looking through my correspondence, and that was the last point I was CC'd on something.
Correct.
But I'm with you. I want to try and do whatever we can to fill these vacancies as quickly as possible. So happy to have that meeting.
I am too.
Okay.
Okay, and then the direction of using the EP, and then when the EPs expire, or there's no longer, Governor Green no longer continues using emergency proclamations for the purpose of affordable housing, the positions could be converted to civil service, or those positions that were approved by DPS to be exempt under state statute could be converted to be exempt as those positions.
Yes, they would need to be, like I said, they default to civil service, but if we can find an exemption that fits, we can utilize that.
Okay, but DPS already said that those positions could be exempt under 76/77.
Yes, that's correct. I think we looked into the whole housing department, and that their positions do fall under that exemption.
Okay, all right. I think we have a pathway forward. Maybe?
Thank you.
A meeting.
Chair Rollins Fernandez. If I could be excused, that would be wonderful.
Mahalo, Director Mitchell,
Thank you.
for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? I think I answered, I don't need the rest of my 3 minutes from my round two, because I think a lot of my questions were now answered and resolved. Committee Vice Chair Bolton.
The question is, like, you know, we're still under emergency, we're still under plenty people facing housing challenges, like, and houselessness. Is it something that personnel is gonna allow to move forward? I mean, it's not our call to oversee the personnel department, so it's not an order, it's a inquiry.
Deputy Director.
So the positions requested have already been exempt, and I believe at least one or two have already been filled using the exemption. The last one that is vacant is because the department chose to reallocate it from a planner to a coordinator. So the hiring process, the exempt hiring process has already been completed for the positions requested.
What about the 7 vacancies?
So one of the vacancies, like the CDBG, the reorganization was just approved, so that just came into our office, but that's already exempt.
So what about the other 6?
The other 6, I would have to look into, 3 are secretaries. Yesterday, when I spoke to the department, they're choosing to fill secretary positions via civil service and not use any exemptions.
Is it because they were directed not to, though? I mean, like,
No.
if you're told not to, then of course you're gonna go the civil service route.
No, they were not directed not to. So the question was, will you be filling? So when we create the secretary position, we need to identify it correctly in Workday. So the call was made to ask, will these be civil service or exempt from civil service, so we can properly create it in Workday? And the response was, they will be civil service.
Okay, so there's 3 civil service secretaries, there's a CDBG, that's 4 vacancies. What about the other 3 vacancies?
The one vacancy, the development project coordinator, which was just reallocated, that is exempt from civil service. I'm not sure where the other ones are. I would have to look into that.
So if the other ones qualify for the emergency proclamation, could they do that?
Yes, they could.
Great news, thank you.
Mahalo, Committee Vice Chair Bolton. Charlie.
How long has CDBG been under housing?
It just got, the reorganization just got approved, so I think they moved maybe this, I'm not exactly sure when it was approved, but pretty recently, within the month, I'm guessing.
Okay. No, so now you're including that vacancy as part of the housing's vacancy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But CDBG has more than one person involved in that.
Correct. They
operation.
have 4 total
4.
positions. 3 are filled and 1 is vacant.
Yeah, because that used to be under the mayor's office.
Correct.
Because they do not only handle housing, they handle fire trucks and other types of acquisitions. Very interesting. Thank you.
Okay, mahalo, Charlie. Okay, any other questions or comments on the first topic before we move on to the second topic? Committee Vice Chair Bolton.
I just have a meeting at 12, but I'm available the rest of the afternoon if we're gonna take our regular lunch break.
Do you need more than 20 minutes to get to your meeting? Okay. Okay, we just have the second topic and then we can be POW. Okay. Yes, you're welcome. We'll all stand in line to get our lomi for the afternoon. Okay, the second topic is department's actions taken pursuant a request from council members to work with a human resource consultant, such as WBCP, to explore hiring process using a competency modeling framework rather than a minimum requirements for new employees. And then I'll go to Committee Vice Chair Polton, because she was the main council member that made this request to DPS. And then I'll go to Member Sugimura because she started to ask her question on the first topic regarding this. Okay, Committee Vice Chair Bolton.
Thank you. So the request was made during the budget, and we want to try and give you folks everything what you need to do more, do better. But now it's almost October, and the budget started July. Is that normal for how long it takes to draft an RFP? Because I figure, if the mayor put in his budget, it's pretty sure that we're not going to take it out. And so it's kind of in theory been like 6 months or so that we've known about this. Is that standard of how long the RFP drafting, working with management, working with council, when especially it was kind of management's idea? Is that normal?
Director, Deputy Director.
I am actually not very familiar with the RFP process, so I don't know what is the normal timelines. I do know that we did reach out to several different people for assistance and help in drafting an RFP, which we finally got a good direction of where we should go for that help. And then, so now it is moving and we hope to get it out very shortly.
Okay, I guess my next question would be for Ms. Trenholm. When we went to the NACO conference, they said that the WBCP was exempt from the RFP process. Like if they wanted to go with them, they just could because of something about San Diego, and that NACO has a suite of, I don't know what they're called, but that are exempt from RFP. Is that not true?
Deputy Director, Corp Counsel.
Thanks for the question. I did check with our purchasing division on that NACO contract with the County of San Diego. What the response was that unless the state and county was explicitly named in the original solicitation and we signed a cooperative agreement prior to publishing, we're prohibited from piggybacking off that cooperative agreement pursuant to HRS 103D, our state procurement law and administrative rule. But we may still be able to utilize the NASPO list, which is the national.
I'm going to pause you. That is very loud. Perhaps, yeah, thank you. I think that's the mic causing the feedback.
Okay. Is this better?
Oh, so much better. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So we may still be able to utilize the NASPO, the National Association of State Procurement Officials list to expedite procurement, but just that one that with the San Diego NACO, it doesn't seem to allow for us to utilize that one under our Hawaii law. But if they're on the NASPO list, then we can utilize them that way.
Okay, and then I guess, oh, my time's up. Okay, thank you, bye.
I didn't press pause when we were figuring out the mic thing, so you can ask your question.
I guess my other question was, like part of the RFP was discussed in the last one, like sometimes there's little tiny minimum qualifications that may no longer be relevant to the position that's being hired for. And so is there an objection to just letting the departments look at the applicants and their qualifications that are going to be rejected because they don't meet the minimum qualifications, and see if they could be retained to continue on the process because the specific minimum qualification that they're missing may no longer be relevant or maybe more of a nice to have. I remember when I was hired long time ago, they still use typewriter for the position descriptions and minimum qualifications, which I don't really know anyone has typewriter, so that's how old it was.
No, there's no objection. We did also announce it at one of the directors' meetings that we are open to having departments come and review applications in conjunction with us if they ever wanted to.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Member Sugimura, and then I'll call on Member Senensi. I think this is the topic that you may have had a question for Ms. McLean about that you were going to hold until we close public testimony. So if you wanted to ask that question now, I'll call on you after Member Sugimura. Member Sugimura, 3 minutes.
Thank you. So what I was curious about is if the personnel department, if you really had, if you had like a chart that everybody could look at and understand all the steps that the departments need to go through, personnel needs to go through, and if that flow chart could be made available, that's one. Number two is the state laws that you are now following, and if you could just provide that, even if it has to be in writing. I'm interested in learning, the state laws as it would intersect with our laws, and also if you had some of your own your rules that you follow, like the other departments do, or guidelines, and if you could provide that also. So kind of just general overview of, how DPS operates as it would interact with your RFPs that you're putting out. That's all. So if you could send that to them in writing so that they could provide it, that's fine, or if they want to talk about it.
Deputy Director.
Yes, we can provide those items.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. And
all right, Member Senensi.
Thank you, Chair. For Ms. McLean, in light of the department's responses, I would just refer to you because I know you're supportive of having the departments receive all the applicants. So if you had any comments on that.
Ms. McLean.
Yes, I thank you, Chair. I think that is a great step. We would also need to have flexibility in how they do their rankings or qualifications, so that the department's input could mean something, right? So you gave your example and Councilmember Paulton gave her example. So even if a department were to say, oh no, this degree should qualify, if DPS's guidelines still tell them, no, it cannot, then we're still stuck. So it's not only having the department's involvement, but it's also having some flexibility where the departments can say, well, no, from the planning department's perspective, that qualification, that degree, those classes, or that work experience is relevant and you should count it. So it's just, if DPS's procedures would allow that kind of flexibility, which could happen now, but it would still be up to DPS to apply it. And I think having the input of the departments would make it a lot easier for them, because they might not know the details of what an employee may do or what the department's needs are. So yeah, giving the departments the opportunity to be involved if they choose to be, and then making sure that that input can mean something.
Okay, and for the department, would the department be open to the other county departments' input as far as, the urgency, or even sharing some of the applicants, or even saying, hey, we've got this applicant, we feel that he or she lacks in the experience, but he or she does have this or that. Would the department be open to having that discussion with the other departments?
I can only speak to what the planning department would have been open to when I was there. I have to say it was quite competitive. we would, kind of like OCS and the administration, you try to steal good people. And when a list comes out and you see a really good candidate, you're like, oh, we have to get on this right away so that someone else doesn't grab them first. So it's competitive because everybody wants their vacancy filled with the best people. But I think having that kind of cooperation, maybe there's a candidate that is a better fit for a planner position in water rather than planning, let's say. And if that, from the higher ups could be conveyed to department heads that, hey, this has to be cooperative, then I think it could be very positive in terms of recruitment and just getting the right people for the right positions.
Okay, thank you. Chair would have time for DPS to respond.
That was the 3 minutes. On the round 2, we can have their response? Okay. Unless there are no other questions. I don't see hands. Charlie.
Okay.
Sparkly.
What is your name again?
Kainea.
Kania, okay. Who was the deputy before you?
Cynthia.
Oh, okay. No, before that, but anyway. The thing is, what I see, I'm thinking that the RS...
Are you talking about Underwood?
No.
Oh,
no.
even before that?
Yeah. Anyway, what I was going to say now, the request for a proposal, okay? The request for a proposal. I can see maybe that person helping you guys with procedural, matters, and that's important. But beyond that too is the more systemic problems that you're facing, that we're all facing, and that is statewide. Okay, and so my thinking is there's 2 immediate answers. Either we get an exemption that we don't have to follow the rest of the state when it comes to compensation, or which is probably going to be difficult, or we are given the discretion to start people at a higher level, which wouldn't affect statewide, the statewide system. Because it'll be our interpretation that this person is qualified rather than starting as an SR 12, could be an SR 18. Oh yeah, my friend. Okay, so anyway, if you had the authority to do that, that we can start at a higher level, because the bottom line is the reason why we have so many vacancies is because of the poor compensation that we offer. If we gave people more money, of course we could fill our vacancies, right? So what I know, the thinking of DPS in the past is like somebody, some director gave a higher salary to somebody who didn't deserve it or something like that. But my thinking is, of course, there's going to be mistakes that happen, but you don't punish the whole rest of the people because of that one mistake. Yeah? So would you folks be open to hiring people at a much higher level if they meet qualifications that aren't so stringent as you follow now?
So probably not in changing the SR level, but within that salary schedule, like SR 10, because I do see like office ops clerks, they're SR 10, which is low. And the starting minimum is at step C. So not changing them from SR 10, but I would not be opposed to starting them at a higher step on that SR 10 range.
Okay, so you folks have that authority then?
Currently, no.
Where does it come from? Which law do we have to change?
I am not sure which law it would need to change. But I know we're looking into policies, but we
Yeah.
still need to speak
No,
to
but
administration.
okay, she's asking, well, that's why you're doing an RFP, but that RFP is on a much lower level, I'm pretty sure. Because what I'm thinking is not what you're thinking. You're thinking of more how to expedite screening and things like that. I'm talking about paying people what they deserve and what is competitive. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I don't think our RFP actually includes like compensation.
Yeah, okay.
Ms. McLean?
Thank you, Chair. If I'm misstating this, obviously Kainea can correct me, but I recall when you hire someone, they automatically start at the minimum step, which is typically C. But when you start recruitment, we would ask DPS for permission to recruit above the minimum. And they would give the okay to that. And then we could recruit at the high, they would tell us you can recruit up to step E or whatever they decided. And then we could recruit at that level, and then based on the candidate, we could offer up to that step. So I don't know what enabled DPS to give that approval in the first place. So at some point, they did have that discretion when you start recruitment that you say upfront, we want to recruit higher, but I don't know how high they can go and what limits them from going to the top end of the range. So maybe Kainea can explain that, because they did have that kind of leeway, at least at some point, that you could hire above the minimum.
Deputy Director, if you could also, cite whatever law, admin rule, or that gave that you that authority.
Yes, so we still currently do have the policy to recruit above the minimum. But I guess what I was referring to is trying to make it easier just starting, instead of departments having to come in and to request recruiting above the minimum, just having it permanently for that class across the board, be able to start at a higher step on the salary range.
Chair, and also just wanted to clarify, when you recruit above the minimum for a higher step, they still have to meet the qualifications of that higher step? Is that true or no? No need? Oh, just have to meet the SR posting of the job description?
Yes, just that NQs.
So you don't know what allows you to recruit above the minimum?
No, there is a HRS that allows that for recruitment above the minimum. Within our office, we were just looking of, instead of having departments come and request each individual time, just having something to make that recruitment step higher.
When I went transfer from another county, they didn't count all my years of service. They made me go back a step. And so I had that qualifications of years of service to be at the step I was at. But I had to go backwards a step. And even in SR, because I guess first responders only get hired at the recruit. So like if you have a police or whatever, ocean safety 2, they have to come in as an ocean safety 1. So I had to go back a whole SR and had to go back a step as well, which isn't helpful in filling first responder positions.
Yeah, correct. So for some departments, for some of those public safety departments, they do require you to come in and start at the entry level to get to go through their proper training specific to that department.
I think most people don't have a trouble starting at the entry level, but to dock the pay is the part, anybody can go through a different county's recruitment and process to learn the specific procedures, but to come in as though you had no experience whatsoever and get paid that is a harsh thing, I guess. And then go backwards in step as well is also harsh.
Yeah, so for those, I do believe that is the department discretion on those. For the transfers, taking the out of state, or not out of state, but out of county transfers, it's usually department discretion.
Okay, hello, Committee Vice Chair Paulton. All right, I'm gonna do my round and then we can go back to Member Sanensi. Okay, all right. Are there any rules? Okay, so this is in response to what Ms. McLean was talking about regarding departments being more involved. Is that something that the departments can do? Like, will DPS allow for the individual departments to be more involved in the hiring process as was described by Ms. McLean?
Yes, I wouldn't say we're opposed to that. We welcome departments to come and look at screening. So if we get a phone call from a department head or a division head saying they know someone who applied that was rejected, didn't meet MQs, we welcome that discussion. Also, for other departments, we have sat down with them to go over rejected applicants to confirm, like Councilmember Paulton was saying, confirm if the MQs are outdated or not outdated, should they be updated? And we have sat down with them to review those rejected applications to see what, like how Ms. McLean mentioned, we do not know the duties and responsibilities of some of these employees, of most of the employees out in the department. So we are looking at it through our lens, but yes, we are open to having departments come and look at these applications with us.
Okay, and then regarding the RFP, so I use WBCP as an example because we met with them when they were a vendor at a conference. On their website, as a private consultant, they provide management and organizational development services and products to partnership with Organizational System International. They blend industrial organizational psychology and development that is based on research applied in the workplace. And then they have their competency model. And then I guess that doesn't really sum up what the video talks about, which was really good. But also, I don't have a background in HR. I wouldn't meet any MQs for that. But for the RFP, is it going to be looking at a different approach to hiring, or what does the scope of work, or what would the RFP include? What is it? What's its purpose? What will it achieve?
Okay, I guess there are two RFPs, right?
Go ahead.
So there's the one that's being worked with the Department of Management, and that's like taking a look, I think, as the county as a whole, HR system and functions. So, we're in a somewhat unique decentralized HR system here at the County of Maui, where there are functions within DPS, but then there are functions at the department level. And so, looking at those systems and functions and how to optimize and make those things more efficient, which would include recruitment and all classification, but, kind of as a holistic review that I think may be overdue based on the way the county's expanded over the years and when this system was first, created. So, like one example of a systemic change is something Chair Lee alluded to, which could be creating specialized divisions within DPS that are supervised by those EM level employees, and then they could really focus on things like recruitment and then, labor relations and training and development and things like that. And then again, a key component of the RFP is, in what we're looking at, is stakeholder engagement. So getting feedback from people like Michelle McLean, who has this kind of experience, and the DPS staff, they have their areas of expertise, Corp Counsel, getting that stakeholder engagement, and then change management, because as you all know, changing government is really hard. So how are we going to make this actually happen, right? So I think that's the one RFP. The other RFP is focusing more on the administrative rules of the Department of Personnel Services, and that's a little more technical, but I think it will hopefully help this process as well, because those are kind of the rules that DPS follows in going through administering HRS Chapter 76, the Civil Service Law. So is there a way to make those rules more efficient, modernized, clearer, using plain language, those kinds of things.
And then what was this? That was the second name?
That's the second RFP for really focusing on the administrative rules, the civil service rules.
Okay. And that RFP is coming out of DPS or management?
That's DPS.
Okay. Charlie.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I skipped Member Senensi. I told him that he could go after me. So Member Senensi and then Charlie. Kalamai.
Thank you, Chair. But I think I heard the deputies say that they're open to meeting with the departments over some of the applications that don't meet the qualifications or something like that.
Deputy Director.
So you already have a process in meeting with the departments.
Correct, we're open. We don't really have a process, just departments will contact us and then we invite them in and sit down with them. But we did announce at a previous directors meeting that we are open to that and departments can contact us.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Mahalo, Member Senensi. Charlie.
Thank you. Thank you for that explanation on the RFPs. However, I don't think that you should sit back and wait for the results, especially since it hasn't even started yet. Because, you must be able to identify right this minute what are your top 3 problem areas. And obviously, the hiring is one. The screening and the qualifying people is one. And secondly, for those of us who have been directors and so forth and having to hire people and moving people upward, the reallocation and redescription processes are very difficult, and they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be. So that's another way of retention. That's a very important step for a tool for the administrators to keep their employees. So that may not hit the top 3, but I would think it's in the top 5. But you would know what are the very top issues that can be addressed right this minute while the RFP is going forward, while the studies are going forward, because that's going to take months before you can sit down and start working on implementation. And the reason why I push so hard on this is because it makes no sense for us to approve a $1.6 billion budget when we have no prayer of implementing it because we're short 700 employees. So why in the world would we approve going the next time another $1.6 billion if we don't have a sufficient workforce? That's why this is so important. What you guys do at DPS is so very important. So I don't know if you want to comment on that, but just to let you know, this is not just a simple exercise. This is a very important issue, and it's a systemic problem that needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Mahalo, Charlie. Committee Vice Chair Bolton.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify one of the things that Ms. Trenholm said was in the first RFP, I believe. When you said labor relations, is that like trying to prevent grievances? Like how do you, is that what you meant? Like labor relations, is that part of personnel's role, is if like departments are having trouble with performance or course correction of behavior or attitude, is that within personnel's role to assist the various departments so that grievances can be prevented, or do they be hands off until the grievance occurs?
So I guess generally that function of HR that you're describing is usually called employee relations, labor relations. Yeah, employee relations.
Sorry.
No, but to your point, yeah, that's something I think that DPS currently does, and we're trying. But Corp Counsel is also involved in the departments, so that's a huge piece of it. Like trying to empower managers to nip these things in the bud sooner, or hopefully not get to the level where someone's gonna file a lawsuit against the county, and so. That is a piece that, DPS is involved in collaboration with Corp Counsel and the departments, the employee relations piece. And then the labor relations would be helping more with you're talking about the union matters. So once the grievance is filed, there's the steps that have to be processed, and step 1's at the department level, step 2 is...
Like I had a previous employer talk about the 7 steps of just cause and that we had to all follow that. But I also have heard from directors that they've reached out to personnel requesting assistance so that it doesn't go to a grievance, and they haven't been given any assistance. So is that included in the RFP about how to avoid grievance, but to also correct attitudes or behaviors or work outputs?
I think that is encompassed in, a kind of systemic, functional approach to how to better address those issues. And we actually just had a meeting on Monday this week with the directors to talk more about, working together as a team to meet the 7 tests of just cause. So all the documentation is in order before a department moves ahead with any kind of termination, so everyone can collaborate and make sure that this is, the right step forward.
Okay, so all the directors were there at that meeting on Monday?
Yeah, that was at the directors meeting on Monday.
Okay, yeah, this information was from before Monday. Thank you.
Okay, mahalo, Member Bolton. All right, it's 12:06, members. If there aren't any other burning or sparkling questions, then we will defer this item. Any other questions? Okay, very good. And then we can follow up again later on how the RFP is going. Do you have any final comments before we defer the item? You don't have to have. Okay, thank you so much for joining us today. Okay, any objections to deferring this item?
Objections.
Okay, awesome. Mahalo, members. Mahalo for a very productive meeting. It is 12:07 on September 25th. And, I guess I should check with staff. Everything good? Okay. 12:07 on September 25th, and KŌMIKE ALOHA ʻAINA is now adjourned.